And welcome. Prono Coders is sponsoring a special live with Eli to teach us all about the new responsive editors, specifically when and where and how to choose between your layouts in the new responsive editor. It's a little bit different. Okay, it's a lot different than the old editor. So a lot of people have been asking us, how do I know which thing I should choose, which way I should go? And Eli is going to clear it all up for us this evening. He's even made a guide for us to help us out. And yeah, Eli, I'm going to let you go ahead and take it away.
Cool. Yeah, let's get started. We're going to tonight. Well, this is what we're going to be building right here. It's a pretty simple layout, but very common. And we're going to go through exactly how we come to the layouts that we're using and the groupings that we're using. So we have a basic side menu that opens and closes, and the page content itself resizes with that. And then we had someone submit this actually. So there's a cart button on the right hand side, and we click on that, and it shows a cart here on the side, and you can see we can view multiple items. There's a proceed to checkout button. We're not going to be getting into much of the functionality. It's all about how to look at what you're designing and kind of create components of pieces of your page, and then figure out your group layouts from there. So the first thing I want to, and maybe we can share this link, Tanya, on YouTube. We put together a Bubble Flex guide that goes through a lot of the very basic idea of how these different containers work. So we're going to start there tonight. We're going to go through each one of these. So the row container, and this is accessible. It's just pronocoders.com flex hyphen guide if you want to go to it and look at it yourself. But so the row container layout, and with Flex, if we just back up a little bit, your page is really made up of a lot of little components, and so you want to think through everything you do and kind of start from the big picture, and then figure out what are the immediate components that we have inside this group. And then inside each of those groups, you're going to figure out what are the immediate components, the direct child elements that we're going to have in here. And there may be a lot more than you think there should be, or you're expecting there to be, but it's really the right way you need to do it and the way it should be done. So we're going to start with the row container layout, which is designed to space your elements in a horizontal group. And so you're going to use this to place them side by side, essentially. And there's 5 different container alignments that are available. So just to note, the container alignment in the row container layout impacts all the child elements of that group. So it doesn't impact the group itself. It doesn't impact anything past the direct child elements. So in this top group here, you see we have a blue background group, and inside we have two child elements. We have an orange group and a yellow group. And this container alignment will impact both of these, but if say these groups had a group inside them, it's not going to impact them at all. So we'll start off left aligned is exactly what it sounds like. It's going to align all your groups to the left side. Centered is going to align all your groups, keep them together, but centered in the middle of the row. And then right aligned will align everything to the right. So that to that point is fairly self-explanatory, but it's important to remember that those container alignments only impact the child elements. So when we get down to the space around and the space between, this is really where a lot of the power of your Flexbox comes in. Space around, and we have 2 different groups here. I just wanted to show what it looked like with 2 elements, what it looked like with 3 elements in it. So space around is going to create an exactly the same space around each child element across the entire row. So you can see here in the two element row we have. So if you split this right in half, you have exactly the same amount of space from the edge of this container or this element to the edge of the container as is halfways between this red element and the yellow element. So same thing here on the three element. This space from the edge of the red uh, group to the edge of the parent element is exactly halfways between the red and the yellow. And then the same from the right side. But ultimately, the space on each side of each element is going to be identical throughout the entire row. Space between then is going to, first element, last element are going to be pushed against the sides of your parent element. And then any additional elements that are, so three or more elements, they will be spaced evenly between those two external elements. And so like this is something you'll wind up using a lot for, say, a header where you want a logo on this side, and then you want maybe login buttons or something on the right side. This is a great way to just use the space between. One group will go to the left side, the other group will go to the right side, and you can place your elements as you want. It's not always needed. Oftentimes, we could make this yellow group, take away a max width and have it stretch out, so it would stretch all the way over here to the orange group, which is a very valid way to do it as well. But it's good to know how the space between and the space around works. So that's the container alignment. Then there's also vertical alignment options that has to do with the row container layout. The difference with the vertical alignment is that it only applies directly to the element that it's being set on, right? So the vertical alignment is going to be available on an element that's a child of a group that has the row container alignment set, if that makes sense. So in this case, this blue group, the layout is set to row, which gives this red group then the option to set a vertical alignment. And so the vertical alignment that we set on this red group will only impact this red group. If we have multiple groups in here, it's not going to impact those groups. It's not going to impact any child elements. It's not going to impact the parent element. It will only impact this red group. And then, so we have top aligned, and then we have, which will align it to the top of its parent group. We have centered, which will center it vertically in its parent group. And then bottom aligned, which will align it to the bottom of its parent group. The fourth option then on the vertical alignment is the vertical stretch. And this will force the element to stretch from the top to the bottom of its parent group. One note here is that a max height will override the stretch. And this yellow group, you can see here, we have a 50% max height. And so it is set to stretch, but it's maxing out at 50%. So as if this parent element was made bigger, then this yellow group would get bigger as well, but it would never go past that 50% of its parent element height. Okay, hopefully, I know that was quite a lot to go through. Bookmark this page, come back to it, and review that as you have time. But I think that will ultimately make sense by the time we're done tonight. So the column container layout, and this is a little different because there are some options in actual Flexbox that you have here. In Bubble, those are not available at the container level. So we don't have, where in Vertical we have the container alignments that impact all the children of that group. The column container does not have that option. However, it does, any element inside a group that has the column layout set will have the ability to set a horizontal alignment on it. And again, this is exactly like the vertical alignment. it will impact that group and only that group. It's not going to impact anything else. So um, left aligned is going to align to the left of the parent. Center will align directly in the horizontal center, and right aligned will align to the right side of the parent. And then horizontal stretch works exactly like the vertical stretch, just horizontally because it's in a column, and will force the element to stretch from the left side to the right side of that parent element, with again the caveat of the max width will override this. And the purple group we have set here is set to a max width of 50%. And so you can see that's controlling it. The purple group is set to the horizontal stretch, but it's being constrained by that max width. Right. I'm going to move on, and I guess this is the just let me know if any questions pop up, Tanya.
Yep, so far we just have a couple of hellos from, let's see, Michael Collins and from Ben Collier. So
Nice.
hello, everyone.
Hi. Okay, so this is the layout we're going to build, and we're going to start in my favorite tool, which is Miro. And we're going to build this out. We're going to start at the very high level and build down into each piece of it. So we're going to start with the page here. And in this page, so we have a header, we have a side menu, and we have body content. So we'll go ahead and pull this over. And we'll start building this out. So we're going to have a header, and this is going to be a floating group. And then we're going to have a content group as well. So this content group will hold essentially everything in the page. And so we want everything, we're going to want everything to be contained in there, but we are going to have that side menu. So this group, we're going to set to a row so that we can stack these elements side by side. Right. So in here then, we'll add that side menu, and then we're going to add a content group as well. Right, and then both of these we'll set to column. I can type. And since this group will hold all the rest of the content, the menu will hold the menu only, and then this group is now where the rest of our page content will live. So we got the column here as well, and we're going to give this actually a max width. Actually, we'll give it a fixed width of we'll do 250 pixels, and then this one would not have a max width on it at all. So okay, so essentially we're gonna put a floating group at the top and a group underneath it that is going to be of type row. So we'll go ahead and start building this out. And we'll grab a floating group. And we're going to make this a row because it's a header, so we would probably want to have things aligned horizontally. Take the fixed width off. Let's give that a min width of 320, and then let's give it a minimum height of 75. And we'll say fit height to content. but we'll leave that minimum height so that takes up some space here. Top and left is what we want it to be doing. And let's grab another group. In fact, I forgot to set the page layout. We're going to set the page layout actually to column so that things are stacking vertically. So we're going to set this, this group is going to be this group here underneath the floating group. So we're going to set this to row and take away its fixed width. And let's take away fit height to content. For now, we'll add that back in, but for now that will make it stretch the length of the page, and it will give us some extra space to work here. And then we're going to give this a margin of 75 pixels to push it underneath the bottom of the floating group.
Can you drag that up so people can see it? Because I think our video, our cameras are in the way.
Uh-oh, do what?
Just drag, yep, just drag that so people can see what you did.
Gotcha.
Yep,
Okay.
there you go.
Perfect. All right. And let's see.
That is why I hide my camera. I'm here, but I want to leave the maximum part of the editor as possible.
Point taken.
But I think maybe 3 is too much, but 2 is good.
Okay. I'm going to put something back there so we're looking at something besides a white screen. All right, on this floating group, let's give it a slight background so we can see where it's at. We'll just do that, and then this group. Okay, so this group is going to be a row, and then inside this group, we want to add our left menu and then our body content. So let's go ahead and set this to row, and we can have the container alignments aligned to the left. That will be fine. And we'll just grab another group. We'll make this one a column, and then say this is our menu. We were going to do this 250 pixels. And then we're going to stretch this. We're going to give the vertical alignment stretch so that it stretches the full height. And then let's give this one a bit of a color as well. All right, perfect. And then I'm just going to copy and paste that next to it. And I will take this fixed width off and make this be our body content. All right, and then we'll probably would want some kind of margins all the way around this. Let's give that a little different color. Okay, so if we preview this, let me get rid of debug. Debug is still pushing everything way up on the new responsive. So we can see, so we've got our basic structure now, and but we have no way of actually hiding and showing this menu on the left-hand side. And we're actually going to need to turn this group into a floating group, right? Because we want the menu to be available. We don't want it to scroll with the rest of the page, but we're still going to need to maintain this this group on the page so that we can have something to hold that to do a placeholder there. So let's just copy this over. So this is going to be a floating group for the menu. All right, yes, we'll just go ahead and draw floating group here. We're going to make this a column as well, so that the menu can, so the menu items can be vertically stacked. But we'll make the width on this 250 pixels, and then we'll take fit height to content off, and make the min height on this to be 100%, because we want this to be the full height of the page at all times. Okay, let me give this a background so we can see that as well. Okay, so let's put an icon.
We've got a question from Ben.
Sure.
Can you position a floating group wherever you want in the new editor, or does it need to align like groups?
It will align to the corner, to the edges of the page. So like this is set to top and left, and then we can position it with margins, or we can do it to the bottom, or both. Or, you know, I haven't tried nothing. I'm not sure what's going to happen with nothing. The positioning from what I've experimented with here is it's going to be either on the left side of the page or the right side of the page, and it's going to be either attached to the top or the bottom, or both top and bottom, and then you position it from there with your margins.
Awesome.
But if you wanted to, so if you wanted to position a group, you could put a floating group that's full width, full height of the page, and then drop groups inside there that would, and position them however you want to. That way, if you needed to simulate a floating group, you know, or create your own pop-up module or something like that.
Ben says thanks.
Right. Yeah, it's a little different. I keep trying to pull the floating groups around, and they just don't pull around. So it's yeah, it's definitely a different scenario. So all right, we want to put this icon over to the left. So we'll just use that horizontal alignment to go to the left of the page. Then we'll give it a bit of margin to set it off. And then let's give this a workflow, and let's say when it is clicked, we're going to animate. Floating group B. And I did not name those, did I? So all right, so we're gonna use a slide. So we're gonna use the big slide left out. Big slide left out. Perfect. All right, so if we preview that. Okay. And then copy that icon, and then we'll paste that directly here into the header floating group. So we'll change this. And we have that set to a vertical alignment, and excuse me, top aligned on the vertical alignment. And then we'll give it a left margin so that it's sitting off from the page. And this one, are you renaming my groups?
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
All right, and so this is going to be the same thing. We're just going to animate this. We're going to use the big slide left in, or slide left big in. In fact, I want to set a custom duration to 200 just to make this a little bit quicker. All right. Okay, so we have a menu coming in and out. Let's go ahead and add some.
We have a question from Facebook when you get a sec.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just wondering if we will include the repeating groups and groups under repeating groups in this discussion.
We will have repeating groups a little bit later on when we're building the shopping cart. I wasn't going to go into the repeating groups real deep, but we can get into them more if we need to.
Awesome.
Is there any specific question around that? Around the repeating groups?
I will let you know if our Facebook user said so.
Okay. Okay. Just so we have something a little more visual. All right, perfect. So you make this a little more visual. All right. So we can see we have the functionality working now, but this page is not shrinking or expanding as it should. And there is a bit of an issue with the animate not working well on this horizontal collapse on a regular group. So I'll go ahead and set it up so you can see what I'm talking about. And on this, we'll just copy paste that action. And then we're going to make this apply to the menu group. And then for the one that opens, we're just going to do the same thing. And this is Command C, Command V on a Mac, or Control C, Control V on a PC. Just to copy that action, and then we're going to apply that to the menu group as well. But let's do one more thing here. We need to make sure that this group, so this is the menu. This is this menu group that's actually inside the container group that's going to allow the content here to expand to the page when the menu is closed. And so we need to set this to collapse when hidden. All right, and they have an animate that's still the slide up and down. So that does not work. Okay, so we have the collapse, but you can see what's happening is there's no animation with it, right? It's just like, it's just there and then it collapses or expands all at once. It doesn't follow the menu that we have collapsing. So we're going to go actually back to this is an old hack from Bubble, and we have the ability to set transitions, but we do not have the ability to set transitions on an entire element, but we can set them on a border. So we're going to take this element and we're going to set the width to 0. And then we're going to give it a right border. So we'll say define each border independently. And so the reason we're doing this is that we can actually set transitions on the width of the border. So we'll set the border width here to 250 pixels. And then we're going to make this border transparent. And we'll just preview that to make sure that, actually, let's remove that animation because that's going to keep hiding it. So let's preview that to make sure that it's taking the space. So that border, the other elements will react to the width of that border on the page. And it doesn't look like anything changed. Border right. Okay. No, we still have. All right, that will work. Okay, so this the border style. So it's a 250 pixel width, which is the same width as the as element was and what we're setting our menu to. And we're going to give this now on a conditional. We're going to say when the floating group side menu isn't visible, then let's set this border width right to 0. And then we're going to give that border a transition. So we'll say border width right, and we're going to use the 200 milliseconds and then ease. So let's see if this is working. Perfect. All right, and so since it's a bit of a hack, but until we have that ability to control or add transitions to the actual width of an element, I think it's what we're going to have to live with at this point. But it works good. So now we have our collapsible menu, and the page content itself collapses with it. So one thing we probably want to add to this condition is because as this would get smaller, right? So if we're doing a responsive at this size, you probably don't want to be pushing this page around. So we'll go ahead and just say I'll just choose a page width at this point and just say page width is less than 800. Then we'll make sure that that stays 0. So that will say, once a page width is a certain size, then we'll just open that floating group over top of the page content. And so now if we refresh, you can see the page content just stays the full width of the page, and we're opening that menu over top of it. To get a little more pretty with it, we can put the same thing here and say page width is less than 800. And then we're just going to give this a box shadow. All right. There we go. We can see this little box shadow just to kind of offset it from the page. And now we're over that 800. Now the body content is collapsing again. All right. Okay, so that is it for the main structure of the page there. We do still, I'm gonna find it. Where's that? Here we go. We still want to build this part of it. And we'll start diving right into there unless there's other questions that have popped up.
Nope, no new questions so far. But if you have questions, we are accepting questions, and we think the best place to do that is from the YouTube. So I'll post the YouTube link just in case you happen to be watching on Facebook or somewhere else.
Okay, so we're going to dive back into Miro, and let me just refresh this. We'll take a look at what we have. So essentially we have a button on the right side of the page that triggers the shopping cart, and there's a shopping cart icon. It says the number of items and the total amount of the shopping cart. We're not going to build the logic for that. We're just going to use static text, but we will make this work. So when you click on this button, then the shopping cart slides out from the right side. Across the top, we have shopping cart and the 3 items text. We have a close button, have a repeating group that shows all the items that are in the shopping cart. And then at the bottom, we have total savings, cart total, and then a button that would let you proceed to checkout. And then we also have it set so you can click anywhere out here and that shopping cart will close. So we'll go ahead and start with this design here, and we'll pull up Miro. and we'll have our page. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to start with a floating group that is full width and full height. We could use a floating group that's just the width of the shopping cart, and that would work just fine. But in order to create that ability to click anywhere out here, it's going to be very simple to just use a full width floating group. Right, and then so we'll have another group that's going to be the width of our shopping cart, and this one will have a column layout because we're going to want to stack everything inside that. And we'll push this over to the right. So we have full page floating group, smaller group that's going to contain our shopping cart, column layout. And now we're going to look at this one. And if we look here, you can see we essentially have a top section, which contains this header and the repeating group. And then we have a bottom section that's going to contain the totals and the button to check out. Even if there was one item, we would want that item up here at the top, and we still want to have this group down at the bottom. We don't want it collapsing up to the top of this shopping cart group. So in here, we will add two groups. Both of these will be with a column layout. And this bottom one will have will be set to fit to content. So we want to collapse it on itself. And don't think we'll need a minimum height on either one of those. So then we can take this group, we'll bring it over. And if we look back over here, we have essentially two sections now. We're going to have a header section, and we're going to have a section for our repeating group. And so we'll add a section here. This is going to be a row because we want to have these items in aligned horizontally to each other. And so we will set this one to a row, and then we could actually add a group below that, but we can get it away here with just adding a repeating group. Right, and that's going to be it'll have one column, and we won't specify the number of rows. So that will allow the rows to expand as far as they need to. We're not going to say fit to content, because if we fit to content, it will overflow the group that's on top of. And that should be all we need for the two sections inside this top section of our group. Then we need to build one more thing here, and that is going to be our header. So this is a row. I'll make this just a little bit bigger. And we have a shopping cart icon, text, and then we have an icon here right on the corner. So I think it would make sense to have a single group in here to contain the shopping cart icon and 3 items text, and then we'll just have an icon element. So this will be a row. And then this is just going to be an icon. Okay. All right, and then this will be a fixed width, fixed height icon, and this row will not have a max width set, and we will set it. We'll set it to fit the content as well. Okay. That should be all we need for the top section. For the bottom section, we have total savings, cart total, and proceed to checkout button. So let's go ahead and build out the rest of that. This is a column. So in here, let's go ahead and I think it makes sense to have a new group for both those totals. And then we'll just have a button element at the bottom. And since this is a column, these will stack automatically. And then let's go ahead and design this. This is going to simply have two texts in it. We'll say total, and then this will be the actual total. Okay. Don't want to get too carried away with drawing out our groups, but these are going to be the same. The only difference here is going to be that I will have different text sizes, but I think this makes sense as a full group. So we'll go ahead and start building this in Bubble. All right, so let's grab I'm just going to go to this menu floating group, copy it, paste it, and I'm going to set this to come off to the right. We don't need that icon anymore. And the reason I copy and pasted that is basically has all the settings that I need already. So this is going to be shopping cart. Okay. And then we will add a group inside there. We'll just double check. No, wait a minute, we're going to do a full width floating group, weren't we? Okay. Let's go ahead and make that happen. I'm going to hide these other floating groups while we're doing this. And let's grab the shopping cart. We're going to take away our fixed width. And I'm just going to give this a full width of minimum width of 100%, just to make sure that it stays over there. We don't need a color on this one. We want it to be transparent. And column will be fine. No, let's do row because we're going to need another group in here. So we'll do a row. And the reason for that is we're actually going to add, I didn't draw that, but we're going to add another group over here that is our clickable group to close this entire shopping cart out. All right, so this will be, we'll just say group close, and we're going to make this column, which doesn't really matter on this one simply because it's, I'm going to stretch it out. It's just supposed to fill out whatever the shopping cart isn't. We just need something to click on. So let's copy paste that. And now this one, we do need it to be column. This is going to be our shopping cart container. All right, min height. All right, so we're gonna, let's just set this to a fixed width of 300 pixels. And we'll give this a background of white. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now inside this container, we need to draw two groups. We need one that's going to be at the bottom that will be a fit to content. We'll give it a min height of 200 or something for now so that we can drop things into it. And then the other one we want to stretch and fill out whatever space the bottom one is not taking. Let's go ahead and put a group in here. This will be column because elements inside it will need to be stacked. Take away the fixed width. We'll just do 0. That will stretch. Then let's copy and paste that. Okay, on the top one, we're going to take away the fit height to content so that it pushes out all the way down. And on the bottom group, let's give it a little bit of a gray background. And we just change this to 150 pixels. Okay, perfect. So we have our top group here. It's pushing all the way down. We have our bottom group that's going to hold the totals. And let's go ahead and build this section first before we build the top section. So in here, we're going to have two groups and one button. So let's put a group in here. This was going to be a row. I'll take away the fixed width. We don't need a minimum width on it. We'll just set the min height to 75 for now. And let's add some text here into this group. So this will be, we'll say total savings. And we're going to set this to be center aligned. We don't need a fixed width on this. And let's give it a minimum height of 0 so it will collapse as much as it can. And I'm actually going to give it margin. We'll just give it 10 top and bottom because we're going to have the group collapse on top of it. And this will give us some space. Okay, so total savings, and then we'll copy and paste this group. This group will need to have right alignment. We'll just say total savings was 5783. And we'll set the width on this to fit to content. And then total savings text will stretch across on this group. We'll give it a 0 minimum height. All right, now we can, actually on this group, let's give it left and right, 20 pixels of margin, and we'll give it 10 on top. And then we're just going to copy and paste this, again, Command C, Command V. And then this will be cart total. And let's make this a little bit bigger. Essentially, it's the same. We do not need our top margin because it's giving us a little bit too much spacing between the top text and the bottom. And then we'll drop one more element. This is going to be our button. So I should put that inside that other one. Okay. And so we will say we're going to take away the fixed width. We don't need a minimum width on this. Simply the container that it's in is a fixed width. And let's change the text to proceed to checkout. And then we're going to give this some margins as well. So we'll say 10 on top and then 20 the rest of the way around. All right. Let's preview that. Okay, perfect. So that looks like it's working right. Let's build this top section. For that, we're going to add a row group, and then we're going to have a repeating group underneath it. And I'm just going to grab that group. I don't need the text in it. Okay. That's why you keep minimum heights on things, right? So they don't collapse on you. All right, so we'll take out the margins here. We want it to be all the way against the edge, so we can give it a background. And then within this group, let's just copy that. And we'll paste inside. And this one will not have a background, and we're going to give this a bit of margin. This is where we're going to put our icon and text. And if we look back at our design, we'll zoom in here. So that's going to be this group right here that we're putting in. And go ahead and drop an icon. Give this, use that one, and let's set this to, let's say 24 by 24. Fixed is fine, and then we'll just give it an upper margin of 10, inside margin of 10. Okay. Inside this group, then, let's go ahead and copy this icon over. We'll paste it in there. We're going to want the shopping cart icon. We'll set the color to white. Just set the color on this one to white. And then we'll put text in here, and we'll just say 3 items. We probably want this to be white as well. Height doesn't matter. We're going to set this to be centered. And let's take away, we don't need the fixed width. And then we'll make this outer group collapse on it as well. So that we have a margin on that icon. We don't need a margin on that icon. So we do need a margin on the right side of it though. Okay. All right, so we have our shopping cart, our 3 items, and then our icon over here on the right. And let's just bump that up and over a little bit. Okay, so that is this top section. And now we need to add a repeating group underneath. And so we'll grab a repeating group, put it there, and this, we'll actually set this to row. I think generally repeating groups will be set to row. There we have the align to parent, which is we haven't really talked about yet tonight. There's a couple of scenarios that I can see this working for. One of the main ones being like a messaging functionality, because it allows you to pin groups or elements to different points in the group itself. And so like on a messaging scenario, you want to have like messages that you sent pinned to the right, messages that someone else sent to you on the left. But the groups in an aligned to parent do not interact with each other, right? So if you have a group pinned to the right, in fact, I'll just pull what I was playing around with earlier on aligned to parent. Sorry, kind of going off on a tangent here, but so we have this group here, right? So we can pin that up on the top, and then we have this this green group that's pinned to the center. But if we pull this red one back down to be pinned to the left in the center, and we look at the responsiveness, like there's no interaction. It doesn't, they don't respond to each other. So I can see the aligned to parent being really good, maybe even for something like an icon that you have a notification. You could pin the icon to the center of the group and pin the notification group up, to the top right, and then just create like a fixed group type scenario. I don't see the aligned to parent being used an awful lot, aside from some very, very specific scenarios. I may be wrong on that. All right, let's see. So we'll jump back over here to what we were building. And okay, so this is what got us into that. All right, repeating group row. We're going to go ahead and take the fixed width off. We're not going to fit the height to content. Don't really need a min height. Let's see. Let's just give this, we'll give it text, and then we'll do the easy thing here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And then just split that with a comma. Right. We're not going to set the number of rows. We set a min height on the row, and then let's see. We'll set fixed number of columns. We only want one column. And then let's add text in here. And this will just be item number, and then we'll just grab current sales text. Okay, that works. So we can make this then centered vertically, and we'll just give it 20 pixels on the right or on the left, and take away the fixed width. Okay, perfect. All right, so we have our header, we have our repeating group, and then we have our cart group at the bottom. And let's just double check that that all is working. All right, perfect. Let's give it a little bit of a shadow. I can find it again. All right, we should be able to see that. And we're going to set up the workflow to close this. So we'll set it up first for the close icon. And actually, we're going to create a custom workflow for this because we're going to be using it in more than one spot, and that will just make it simpler to trigger it from different places. So this would be close cart, and then this is going to be an animation. So we're going to animate the floating group shopping cart, and we're going to use the slide right out, or the slide right big out. Here we go. There we go. Okay, and we'll drop this back down to 200 just to make it a little faster. It just seems a little smoother. Okay, so this icon, when that's clicked, we're going to trigger that custom event. And then we're also going to, right, we'll just copy and paste that and then tag this to the close group as well. All right, and remember that close group is here I'll give it a quick color so we can see it. It's filling in all this data to the left of the shopping cart. So when we click out here, it will close that shopping cart. All right, let's just test this and make sure it works. Hold on, let me take that color off. Perfect. Okay, so that's closing. Remember, we have this button that we need here to trigger the shopping cart as well. All right. So we'll go ahead and build that. I'm not going to draw that in Miro. We can just look at this. So we have a floating group, and we'll make it of a type column. And then this icon and text should be another group that will be with the row layout, left aligned. And then this, where we're displaying the total amount, will be a group as well. And we only have one element in it, so we'll just make it a row and then a text element inside there. So rather than drawing that out, we would just get to building. So let's hide this. And in fact, let's make this so it's not visible on page load. And we're going to draw another floating group. This will be floating group cart trigger. And let's give it a background. I'm going to pin it to the right. So we'll give it a top margin of, we really need percentage here. We don't have access to percentage yet. I can imagine that's coming at some point, but we need, it'd be nice to be able to say, 30% or 30, the V8, which is vertical height. But we'll just do 200 for now to position it. We're going to set this to column. We'll come back and adjust this. Actually, let's just set do 150 on that. And then we'll fit the height to the actual size. So let's grab a group. We're going to drop the group in here. It's going to be a row. Don't want it to be fixed width. We don't need a minimum width on it. And let's grab effect. Yeah, let's just grab an icon. We'll put it there. We'll look inside here. So we'll say top group. And we're going to give this some margin just to offset the content itself. I told myself I wouldn't talk about padding again tonight. I have talked about that enough, I think, but we could do this with padding. So, all right, so we have that group ready. Let's go ahead and set the icon to the cart. And we'll set the color to white and give it a size of 24 by 24 sounds good. Let's put some text in here. The text did not want to go, did it? All right, let's change this. All right, perfect. And we'll just add some static text again here. So 3 items. Let's make this white so we can see it. And we'll just change that minimum height so it collapses on itself. And since we're in a row, we can set the vertical alignment. So we'll set this to vertically aligned center. And let's give it a margin on the left of 10 just to set it off from that icon a little bit. All right, and I'm just going to copy this group and place it right underneath. We'll remove the We'll remove the shopping cart, and let's give the group itself actually a background of white. I'll just do 10. All right, I think that works. We'll change the color here to something like that. On the text, we'll just say $588.88. Can't remember what we had on the actual shopping cart, but that's pretty close. Okay, so let's just give this then margin all the way around to give some space to breathe. And on the floating group, we're gonna fit it to content, and we'll just make this 45. Okay, so we have our shopping cart trigger. And let's just say bring to front. And we're going to want to hide this when we show the shopping cart. So let's add another action here. We'll copy paste this action, and we're going to change this to right slide in, and then this will be our trigger. So when we hide the shopping cart, we're going to show it, and then let's just copy and paste this custom workflow. Since we have most of the work done already, we'll just say open cart. Custom workflows are great to have, even if you're using them just once. Just in, it gives you it's very clean. It gives you a good place to manage, to update workflows, and you never know when you're going to want to trigger something from something else. So I seldom avoid creating custom workflows. All right, so this animate, we're going to change this. We're just going to switch these around rather than try to find that animation again. And this is shopping cart. Okay, and we'll click on this cart trigger, start edit workflow, and we will trigger that custom event to open the cart. Okay, let's see if all this is working. So there's our shopping cart. Click. It's going to show our shopping cart itself. Click the close button, open it back up. Click anywhere in the screen. All right, so this this floating group menu is higher than this floating group. So let's just go back in here. As you can see, if it's open, if I click over here, it's not closing. So we'll just go in and find the shopping cart. We'll do bring to front. Let's refresh. Perfect. Okay, so I know those are it's not super complicated. It's not a super complicated build, but try to include lots of different kind of ways of thinking about which group we're going to use, which type of group, and all that. But
well done. Thank you. Let's see, I'll check and see if we have any more questions. We have a couple more minutes if you want to send in any questions from what you just watched from Eli. So, all right. Well, we are so grateful to have you on, Eli, to show us these things and help us through.
It's good to be on.
Yeah, and we've got something exciting to talk about. You want to come on, Pablo? We can all talk about the vault. We're excited to tell you about the vault.
Did
You've
Pablo
been
go to
working.
sleep?
Okay, I don't know if I can see
No,
my,
he's here. He's here.
I don't see my camera. I don't know what I did. But
Oh, let's
I'm
see.
only seeing pancakes on the screen.
Oh, that's weird.
Is it making you hungry?
Yeah.
Here, let me answer
That's what I
this
was
off and
thinking.
see.
Thinking,
There we go.
I hope everyone has watching the live stream. No, but
Yes, it was hunger inspiring. Michael Collins says that was great. Thank you very much. Awesome. Well, we are excited because I think it's this Friday, right, Pablo? We're going to launch
yeah,
our vault. We've
we're
been
gonna
talking
launch
about it
the
for a while.
vault.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
it's
a repository of lots of questions and answers about Bubble. We're gonna be covering all the things that members in Pronocoders ask in the office hours, and then also Bloom videos asking from people that have asked us questions in Slack communities, Twitter, all over, and we have answered with videos, and we think that that content is really valuable. We really wanted to go into the void and yeah, so we're turning it into time-stamped content for people to learn about real life questions, and we're launching
right.
it this Friday, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. And if you would like to be notified when that happens, when you can grab the vault, you can go to pronocoders.com/vault and sign up for the email list. We'll be notifying everyone on that list first. And it is what we'll be doing some kind of discount for the holiday, right? That's the plan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the plan. We
Yeah.
still
And we
have to
and we
decide how it will work, but for the first people that sign up during the first 48 hours, doing a special offer for the pre-launch. Yeah.
Awesome. And what was the challenge I gave you when we started this? Because you're the one who's pretty much put all of the vault content together. The challenge I said was there's plenty of places where you can go and find content on Bubble, but it's very difficult to find your answer fast and without having to watch a lot of video content around it. Right. So our challenge here is we want to make it so that you can search for your answer and then find it and not have to watch a bunch of video to get to that piece that you're looking for, right?
Yeah, that's the whole
Yeah,
idea, and also just having more advanced and intermediate content from people that are building apps
it's true.
and get stuck, and have like specific questions. And I think it's really entertaining and valuable to just watch people ask those questions and us trying to answer them. And in this case, actually succeeding because we curate all the content that goes into the vault. So yeah, everyone has an
Perfect.
answer if it's in the vault.
Oh, okay. That's the promise. Everything has an answer if it goes in the vault. So, all right. And if you have any questions you want us to cover, are we open to questions from people? Just in general, where should they go, do you think? They can email us or they can go to the requests page.
Yeah, they can go to a request page. They can also find us on Twitter, on the Facebook group. There
That's
are a
true.
lot of places. Like
Yeah, we're trying
whatever
to
more
cover all
content,
our
I
bases.
think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever the user prefers, I think. The Facebook group is growing a lot, and I think that's great. Like seeing everyone asking there, and also getting answers from other members. That's amazing. And yeah, also in pronocoders.com. Yeah.
and pretty soon our extension, right, Eli? Pretty
fingers crossed.
fingers crossed. If Google loves us, we'll have an extension, and you can ask all of your questions there as well. So. Awesome. Well, thank you, Pablo, for letting us know about the vault. Again, go to pronocoders.com/the vault, sign up for the email list, and you'll be the first to know when it's launched and it's ready. And thank you again, Eli, for the excellent content on the Flexbox editor. It's high in demand. You answered a lot of people's questions today. And Ben says, woo, the vault. Yes. And we will be back. If you're not familiar, we do office hours every day of the week, Monday through Friday. So tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time, we're going to be back live in all of our channels with office hours. You can sign up at pronocoders.com. Thank you, gentlemen, and I'll see you later. Bye, everybody.
Sure. Bye bye. Thank you, Tonya. Thank you, Eli.